It's Monday, the 27th of September. My name's Rich. This is episode 226 of the FPL Surgery podcast. And as always, I'm here with Dave. Hi, Dave.
Hey, buddy. Thanks very much for giving that a slight 2-second pause before we started, just to make sure we could hear each other. That was really, really good. Thank you very much for that. And I'm doing very well, especially today. But before we get into why, which I'm sure you guys will all know by now, we're going to be talking about Chelsea's defenders, Man City defenders, and amazingly, Arsenal assets, and if they are emerging as actual FPL assets or not. But before we get into all that good stuff, we have an amazing guest this week, don't we, Rich?
We do. I'm excited for this one. I wasn't excited about having to do the intro, though, but I'm going to do it just as we would for any other guest. So this week's guest has played FPL since 2006, 15 seasons, 14 of them were in the top 100K, 11 of them are top 50K, 8 are top 20K, 5 are top 10K, 4 are top 5K, and he came 500th as well. Welcome back to the podcast, Josh. Hi, Josh.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
It's great to be
back on for 1 week.
I don't know. I'm excited. It's I've missed it. You know, it's been great, and obviously had you guys have had some time now to get into the YouTube and side of things. So it's nice to come on again.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have you back. And I mean, I'm sure you wanted that long, lengthy intro. I didn't realize quite how long it was to read all that out until.
I'm a veteran as FPL players go, mate. It's been a big part of my life. 37 years old and 15 years I've been playing FPL. It's almost 50% of my life. It's pretty worrying, isn't it? But
wow.
It's been good fun most of the time.
That's actually wild how long you've been playing, and you're gonna have like that extra connection. And then how's it been, stepping back? Have you got your Mondays back, or your the recording nights back? How's it been?
Yeah. It was the right decision. The missus is pregnant.
Woo! Congratulations!
So the missus is pregnant.
That's what happens when you get your Monday nights back.
I know. I didn't know if we could go there. I'm glad someone did. Been concentrating a lot on the business and building the business and everything post COVID and stuff. So been good, but obviously been listening to you guys every week. And you've had some amazing guests on so far. So it's been great.
Yeah, well, it's brilliant to have you back. And Dave's just quickly going to plug YouTube.
Yeah, as always, thank you everyone who is always coming and listening to us and watching us live. If you are here for the very first time and you're watching us, then please stick around, subscribe. We're doing loads of stuff. We'll do ad hoc streams and that. We did a very, very fun ad hoc stream last week, didn't we, Rich? And we'll probably try and do another one very soon. And for everyone who's just, plodding along, listening to us while at the gym or running or whatever on your normal podcast things, then we like that you're here too. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, we do. And just before we get into the game week roundup for the week, actually, I just wanted to mention something for Emma. So obviously Emma's one of our patrons. She was on the podcast last week. She's obviously been predicting the Man City lineups every week. And I believe they were 100% correct last week. But she's basically messaged me earlier. She's looking for 50 knowledgeable Man City fans to try and help make the predictions even more accurate.
Yeah.
So if you can follow Emma on Twitter, it's @JumpTheWave. We'll send a tweet out as well on the surgery account. And she's looking for 50 people to join a group chat, basically on Twitter, to try and get the predictions even better, even though they were 100% last week, which is pretty damn good, isn't it? But and then I think Emma's going to be looking into doing the similar for Man United and Chelsea fans, but needs some reliable predictors first, and then a team, to help organise the commentary and data input for those teams. So it's exciting because those are teams, are hard to predict, particularly City and Chelsea. And I think we're going to be talking about those teams quite a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to the game week stats, first of all.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Give me 2 seconds.
So this week, anyway, the stats we've sorted by XG. So these are for the game week. We've got Mo Salah's top with 1.2, Vardy was second with 1.17, thanks to that favourable fixture against Burnley. Antonio was third with 1.15 as well. I mean, Josh, were there any stats this week that I didn't tell you we were going to do this either, but were there any stats that jumped out at you this week that surprised you or shocked you?
Just having a look at them now. I mean, it was Townsend, I guess, was... I mean, I don't think it was a surprise to see him take over on penalties, but definitely a massive, massive plus to anyone who owned him, bearing in mind his price. That was pretty incredible.
I got laughed at. I got laughed at, Josh.
For even mentioning bad about that.
Even mentioning him was wrought with people making fun of me, and very, very light bullying, I would say.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I don't think many of them are surprising. I think probably the one player on there that I think's been flying a little bit under the radar is actually Grealish, because he's not really been producing numbers in terms of goals and assists, but actually, if you look at his stats, they're pretty good. I mean, they're leading stats in terms of City attackers for most metrics, and for that reason, I think he's potentially going to be worth his value. He's obviously very nailed so far in the 6 game weeks we've had.
Yeah,
he'd be probably the one that I pick out there as one that I think is an interesting topic to discuss.
Yeah, and I think we will get onto him as well. So those are the stats of the game. Actually, I also wanted to shout out for Bruno. You know, he had 6 shots, none of them on target. Obviously, one of those was a penalty, and then 10 key passes as well.
What was that penalty about? What happened? Where was his normal run up? Where was his normal hop, skip, and a jump type?
I think he was nervous because Pinaldo was right behind him.
I think he was, yeah.
And Martinez, I don't think Martinez helped before or obviously after the penalty as well.
It was that, you know, he was sort of felt like he was taking a penalty where the bully in the playground was sort of watching him over his back, over his shoulder.
Yeah,
That was
you better score this,
wasn't it? Yeah, you better score this, mate, or else you'll be I'll ruffle you up behind the bike sheds type thing. It was it didn't look good, did he? He didn't look confident. And then Ronaldo rubbed salt in the wound afterwards with a little bit of a patronising pat on the back.
Yeah,
and it makes you wonder now who's going to be on penalties, because I think a lot of people were so confident that Ronaldo would be on penalties, and then obviously he didn't take it. But now Bruno's missed, we still haven't got a definitive answer. Like if Bruno had scored it, it maybe would be easier to look at selling someone like Ronaldo. But should we get into our game weeks to begin with? So if we start with yourself, Josh, how did you get on?
Yeah, not too bad. No fireworks here. Just a bit of a meh game week, but it's a small green arrow at the moment. 48 points. It was a bit of a damaged imitation, really. I had obviously Bamford red flagged. Reece James, I didn't expect to start. So obviously bench Bamford, bench James, who did start but then got taken off obviously with the injury, and rolled out what I felt was a pretty weak team, but I thought I don't actually know who to bring in for Bamford here, so I'm better just to roll the transfer, take 2 into next week, obviously big Chelsea fixture swing, and hope that I can get by, and it's actually been better than I expected. Like I said, small green arrow. Sanchez to play tonight, 48 points. And just happy with the captaincy, really. I went bold on Antonio. I was on him all week, really. Really, I just love captaining players against Leeds. Even if they don't return, you just know they're going to get opportunities. And Antonio's an XG monster that you know that against a normal Leeds side, he'd get opportunities both for goals and assists. He's their talisman, and against a team with a back four of Dallas, Creswell, Cooper, and Firpo, I was just licking my lips. I was like, I've got to go for it with him, really.
With that, Josh, because obviously there's been a lot made of home advantage this season. So obviously you had Salah and Antonio both away from home. You didn't have Ronaldo. So did that make the decision a bit easier? Because I mean, personally, I was between Ronaldo and Salah, and because of home advantage, I went for Ronaldo.
I just felt with Salah, 2 things. I felt like I didn't honestly think he'd get much space against Brentford, which was completely wrong. Purely because they play a 3 at the back with wing backs.
Yeah.
I didn't think he'd get much space. I also thought 5:30 kickoff, Brentford at home against one of the biggest clubs in the league. The fans are going to be absolutely bouncing for this one. And I thought it'd be a tough away game.
I think everyone thought that, though, to be fair. Brentford have looked so good. We were talking about how good their defence is, their XGC, all that stuff.
They were so much more open than I expected. I think it helped that Ethan Pinnock went off injured because he's one of their best defenders.
Yeah.
And really, it was a lot more open than I expected. And I think both Salah and Antonio probably could have had way bigger hauls than they did. Salah could have easily had a hat-trick. Antonio set up some good chances, had some opportunities of his own. I think he was one of the top XGI sort of for the game week, as was Salah. So, it's a shame it wasn't more, bearing in mind as well that Ronaldo came away with a pretty, measly-looking shot output for the week. But yes, obviously it wasn't great going in with no Ronaldo in my team, because it was when him at home at Old Trafford at any time is not nice to not have in your team.
No, I think that was my point. That if you had Ronaldo, I think you'd have found it harder to captain Antonio and Salah.
Oh no, 100%. I'd have 100% captain Ronaldo over that.
Yeah, so would I have.
But I wildcarded game week 4 and I chose to go without him.
And play finally paid off.
Get Lukaku, play the long game, use the million to spread around the rest of my team, and hope that I didn't see too many Sayus. And it's not been too bad. Lukaku matched him game week 4 with the captaincy. Game week 5 he scored, and game week 6 he blanked. So I'm at the other end now, and I feel like it was.
Yeah, we're only down a goal. And
it's
he's
interesting,
not on
actually.
At the moment, we are, yeah.
Because I think all three of us had Lukaku captain for his brace. We didn't own Ronaldo for his brace in that game week. Obviously, I then changed my mind and ended up getting him. But yeah, so I think we were on quite similar strategies.
That game week 4, anyone who wildcarded into the Threemium triple up, that game week absolutely smashed it, because they had two players up front, Lukaku and Ronaldo, who both braced, one of which they would have likely have captained. So anyone who went Threemium that in game week 4, it was laughing. But since then it's been fine. So
back to
long
normal.
may it continue, and I'll look forward to bringing in Ronaldo in game week 12 or
14 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can't wait. All right, next up's me. And to be fair, I'm just going to go back and forth on the actual video. So all you podcast listeners, unfortunately, you can't see this. But look how similar our teams are. The only difference really is I've got... I think you've got Rafinha, and I've got Torres, and I've got Armstrong, and you have Bamford still, because you haven't replaced him. All right, we both have a Chelsea defender, albeit mine is playing right now.
Yours plays and mine doesn't.
Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, and then I think you've got White and I've got Cody, and that's it. As for, and that makes me feel better, to be fair, because I think you're an incredible manager, and it's always nice when you see someone how many times has Rich went on about him and Vardy and Magnus Carlsen. So yeah, it just makes you feel nicer. This week was rubbish. I had 39 points. 1 above the average, which is still nice. It's kind of it's okay, but yeah, I took Cody because I brought in Armstrong. We talked a lot about it, and we did a wee Patreon pod, and Edward was someone I wanted to bring in. I was tweeting about it, and then I decided I keep doing these kind of short term. I need to start buying players that are going to not get injured and play longer, and also Armstrong give me money and blah blah blah. So he was the least risky, most long-term choice, so I went with him. And I don't mind that he blanked. It's not 100% that your 6 million player is going to do well every week, but because I brought him in, I benched Cody and made sure he was second on the bench, because if I've got 2 Southampton players, Armstrong and Livramento, I should go all in, right? Just laws of averages. So I didn't get Cody off the bench, which is 6 points, which sucked. And then Christensen lost his clean sheet. which wasn't too good. So he's coming in for 1 point because Torres didn't play yet again. And everyone keeps saying this, and we were talking about it just before we started. Like, Torres is going to be great in 2 game weeks, but then, it's already been 2 game weeks, and it was him or Rafinha, and Rafinha has been doing amazing. So, yeah, I'm still not convinced on Leeds, but unfortunately, Rafinha is their only good player, and he actually is performing every week. So that's where I'm at. And
I like the Armstrong. I like the Armstrong pick.
Yeah, I know you do.
It's definitely a long-term one. That's what's, you want to make moves that last for a while, don't you?
Especially when we're not on wildcard anymore, do you know?
I think that's exactly it. You've taken into account you've used your wild card and gone for Armstrong. So yeah, I know I kept saying to you I like it, but I genuinely do like it. And I've also realised while we're recording, I haven't mentioned. So we're recording before the Palace game. So Palace Brighton.
Oh yeah, that's happening in 13 minutes.
Yeah, and we've all got Sanchez in goal. So while you're on 39 points, Dave, you've still got Sanchez, who's going to save a couple of penalties. So
yeah, we've all got Sanchez, and he's. I can't believe he got more points than Sa. That's crazy. It's really good. He's 2 assists of anything. Shall we do your team then?
Yeah, we'll go with my team quickly. Now, I mean, I'm on 41 points with just Sanchez to play. My move, I'd already done it when we recorded last week, hadn't I? I brought in Alonso for Webster. I'm still playing this 4-4-2. I had Ronaldo captain. Again, like I mentioned before, I captained Ronaldo because he was at home. I don't regret getting Ronaldo in because it meant I did Bruno Fernandes last week to Sarr. And Bruno to Sarr, I never expected it to cause, to get that many points in.
Yeah.
So while it wasn't the reason I did it, it's worked out well. So
yeah, you're butterfly affected, and you're absolutely smashing it because of it.
Yeah, so a little bit of luck there, but I like Sarr. I'm down to 222k. Hopefully Sanchez can boost that up a little bit tonight, but we'll see because it seems like most people seem to own him. I think he's 66% effective ownership.
Really?
That's still a green. If you, it's still like you're beating 44% of people or 33%.
Duffy's and Veltmans and all this stuff. So,
do you think so? Are you saying that right now? If my goalkeeper gets any points, I'm not getting any. I'm not moving.
No, you benefit from the clean sheet, but I don't think it'd be huge.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Exactly it.
I just need to know what I'm cheering for.
Yeah, it won't be huge. And then a couple of Duffy goals or something could make it even smaller.
I mean, it doesn't even matter. Edouard is going to get a hat trick. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way the season has been going, and that's absolutely fine. And I wish him all the best. So yeah.
Yeah, that was my game week. So we get straight into the headlines. So the first one is Chelsea defenders.
Perfect.
Now, I believe, obviously, everyone will know that Josh supports Chelsea. And I believe Josh has put together a little bit of work on the Chelsea. Should we start with the defenders? Because that seems to be, obviously, with the Luke Shaw injury, Ayling might be out for some people. We're not really sure. So, and a lot of people are now looking at Chelsea defenders. So do you want to start with that, Josh?
Yeah. So I did a bit of research, did a nerdy little table, if that's due to come up, I think, in a second.
Yeah, I'll get it.
And really just wanted to look at each of them individually. There's so many different metrics that you can look at for all of these defenders. And it depends what's important to you, really. So, looking at them individually, I didn't want to focus too much on just the attacking stats because it would be just pointless. It would be like, well, Alonso's the winner. Well, of course. So I tried to spread it out. So I looked at minutes, which is very important, XGI, which obviously takes into account both, goal threat and then also creativity, penalty area touches, because I think it's important. How much chances have they got of getting goals and assists, close to goal, but also it can make it a lot easier to then decide between the centre backs. If you look at penalty area touches, as in, are they actually getting a touch from a corner, for example? And then BBPS, which is baseline bonus points. So your bonus that you accumulate before goals, assists, clean sheets, etc. And then what I did is I gave them a rank as in, so 1 being the best and 6 being the worst. I didn't include Ben Chilwell, poor guy, but he's not played a single minute. So I ranked them. So basically, the player with the lowest number is the best overall. So yeah, essentially, I just thought it was an interesting way of looking at it. Alonso has obviously, come out on top. It's no real surprise. He is obviously been nailed in terms of minutes so far.
Do you think that will continue? Just to stop with to go into Alonso a little bit. Do you think he will continue being nailed? Obviously, there's Champions League midweek, which might give us some more info.
He is very, very, very high risk, high reward. I think
that was 3 varies, Rich.
I thought you were going to say very, very, very nailed. You really got up to it. No, then I was disappointed.
So very, very, very high risk, high reward.
I look at Alonso, and this has always been the case with Alonso under Tuchel, under Lampard, under Conte, whoever. He is a very high risk, high reward player. He's a little bit like he's the Mahrez of the defender world, if you get what I mean. Is in that his points per 90, points per minute, call it what you want, is probably the best amongst all defenders, right? Potentially up there, even as good as or better than Trent. If he played 38 games and Trent played 38 games, you'd be like, he could pretty much match.
He's
Trent.
got a lot more goal threat, doesn't he, than Trent? Yeah. He's going to score goals.
Exactly. And
he camps out in the box.
This season, he's taking obviously direct free kicks. He's on corners. I mean, he's getting up there with Lukaku at times, depending on what formation we're playing. So yeah, he's absolutely incredible. But Ben Chilwell is Ben Chilwell. I mean, he's an incredible left wing back. He played in the team that won us the Champions League final. That's not going to get forgotten. I think that there's an issue with him in a couple of ways. I think one, he obviously, which is quite widely documented, has had a bit of a issue with going to the Euros and not playing a single minute. But the other thing is, I don't think that Tuchel is too happy that he went on an extended holiday after the Euros. As in, there's certain players that needed a break because they played so many minutes, the likes of Mount, Grealish, etc. But I don't think that Chilwell needed that. I think he probably should have come back a bit sooner and cracked on, really. So I think that, yes, it's Alonso's shirt to lose. But if I'm honest with you, I think it's a bit of a ticking clock until when Chilwell plays some part. However, I do think that what's great with Alonso over James, for example, is that he should be more of a 90 or 0. Yeah. Whereas, as we know from our experience with Reece James, he loves a cameo, or Tuchel loves to bring him on for a cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I mean, that's why I went Alonso. Looking at the stats you put together here, where he's got penalty area touches of 15. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, obviously you've got after that Azpilicueta on 11 and then Reece James on 10. So yeah, pretty good. I was surprised Rudiger was so low, with just 4 penalty touches. Yeah, because it felt like he's been getting forward a lot more. Like when you watching him play both in the league and Champions League as well. But maybe also
not. How Thiago Silva's penalty area touches were higher than Rudiger's.
And Christensen's
half
combined
his minutes, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, Christensen's not 0. So yeah, it's all about what metrics are important to you, right? So obviously, the most nailed defender is Rudiger, 100%. And the reason why he's the most nailed for us is not just because he's one of Tuchel's favourites, but there's not really anyone else that plays left centre back. We don't really have anyone else who plays that position. Yes, there could be people that can, fill in there, but there's no one that is naturally going to play there. And that, I think, is the main reason why he plays every game.
Was it Zuma playing left centre-back last season?
I'm not entirely sure.
Zuma, and you had... Because Rudiger obviously got in the team at the expense of Zuma, didn't he? Midway last season, anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, definitely. But I think also we obviously switched formations and went and went with 3 at the back, which Lampard flirted with but never really did a great deal of. So he's definitely the most nailed. Obviously, from an attacking perspective, it is Alonso, but there's a risk. I think that I think Azpilicueta is great. Occasionally he's a little bit more expensive, but I think he offers you a little bit of everything. As in, he's nailed. He's arguably as nailed as Rudiger. He's offers you a bit more attacking threat than Rudiger, particularly if James is out. He should play not every game at right wing back, because I think Hudson-Odoi will play a little bit, but he should play some games at right wing back. As you can see with his touches in the box, they're higher than I expected them to be. He's good on bonus, so he offers you a bit of everything. Thiago Silva for me is a no. Just don't. I mean, he's 37 next month.
You said that.
I wouldn't be going anywhere near it.
He's so good at bonus, and he does get quite a lot of penalty area touches, considering his lack of minutes, because he's not been fully fit, has he? And that's why he didn't start the other day, is what I read.
I think the thing is as well is the other reason is he's still going away with Brazil, and we want as little amount of South American players as possible at the moment, because they're just a bit of a headache. Rafinha's worth it because of his price, but I wouldn't be wanting to invest in him.
It's a good point you make on the whole Brazil situation, actually.
Yeah.
So it would eliminate him.
And then James finally he's my boy. He's like my favourite Chelsea player these days. I think he's such an incredible player. But he's probably not. There's not a fair reflection on him this table, because he's played 188 minutes. So he was rested game week 1.
Yeah.
Smashed it game week 2 with a goal and an assist and 3 bonus points and a clean sheet. Then got sent off game week 3, suspended game week 4, benched game week 5, injured game week 6. But I mean, you look at him, 1.25 XGI. In 188 minutes, so 1.23 in 188 minutes, and Alonso's 1.68 in 535 minutes. I mean, James is for me, he's not probably quite up there with Alonso, but he's not far off, and he's got lesser competition for that spot than Alonso has on the other side, but he's injured, so right now he's not really a factor to consider, unless we get a surprise that he's better than we expected.
I have a few questions. So first question, and probably the most concerning for me, is that how worried do I need to be as a Christensen owner? Because obviously there's going to be so many people. You think he's great?
Everyone's got their own merits, right? Alonso is the attacking god of them all, right? By a mile, especially now Reece James is out. By a mile, he's the most attacking one.
Yeah.
Azpi's a good all-rounder, but a little bit more expensive. Rudiger's the most nailed, and Christensen's the cheap guy. But Christensen is, for me, he's a brilliant pick. Rudiger's going to go up in price tonight. Rudiger's going to go up to 5.7 tonight. So Christensen is 0.7 cheaper than him from tomorrow, and there isn't that much in it. Okay, so he's got 4 penalty area touches versus Christensen's 0.
So would you say Christensen's nailed enough that you shouldn't be worried about the starts then?
I think if you've got a good defender, 4-5 defender, or Livramento, who can sit there as first sub, and someone that's got good fixtures. So we were chatting pre-pod. Rich has got Cody Ayling. I've got White, Livramento. These sorts of guys have all got great fixtures. They're all cheap, and they can all cover those times when Christensen will get inevitably benched.
Right.
But you look at BPS, he's on 76, Rudiger's on 69. So he's actually, better than Rudiger so far this season on bonus.
And Alonso. Just wanted to say that, Rich.
So he's got his merits, and there is something else as well, which is, Thiago Silva goes away with Brazil for the international break, comes back game week 8, I think, plays 24 hours before against Uruguay or something like that.
Yeah.
So the chances of him even getting back to London before the game are slim. Playing are very slim. So you'd say Christensen should be nailed game week 8. And I don't know. I mean, I can't predict what's going to happen this game week coming, but I think he's a great option.
Could you get something weird? Because like you could have Hudson-Odoi playing at right back, which means Azpilicueta playing centre back. Is there risk? Because actually, looking at the work you put together there, I agree. Christensen's got better bonus. I know Rudiger's had 4 touches in the box, but his XGI isn't actually that much better than Christensen.
No.
And when I think of Christensen, I know people say he hasn't got attacking threat, but he almost scored the other day for Chelsea. And I always think of that goal he scored against Russia in the Euros, like absolute thunder, thunder blaster. I was going to say something else there. You've actually got me quite tempted with Christensen now, but I guess something I would say is if someone had Alonso, that someone being me, and then they might look at bringing in Christensen.
Yeah,
there is a little risk there that you could end up with no Chelsea defender.
You could, but for 1 week when they might not keep a clean sheet, it's 5 fixtures as well. It's 5 fixtures.
It's true, and I guess that money you could use elsewhere as well, because you could. If you go Azpilicueta and Rudiger to be safe, it's a lot of money.
It's very dull as well.
I think the best...
It's very dull. And I'm not... Listen, there'll be people that go out there and get Azpilicueta and Rudiger who potentially for the next 5 game weeks, 7 to 11, isn't it? 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10, 11. Could get 2 lots of 5 clean sheets every game week. Wonderful. And they're guaranteed those points, and then inevitably be a bonus point or 2 in there. Asp may get an assist, but I don't know. I'm always one that wants to chase the more attacking premium defenders, and I think the thing with Rudiger is the higher and higher his price goes before Friday when I need to make my transfers because I need information on the players that I've got who are flagged. The less and less attractive he becomes. So he's going to be 5.7 in the morning and then potentially could reach 5.8 by Friday. Who knows? And then I'm like, I really want to pay 5.8 for a guy who's really, his ceiling most weeks is, 7 with the bonus?
By that point, he's 0.3 away from Diaz.
Christensen is a gift.
Cancelo.
Christensen at 5 million for the best defence in the league. Or second if we look at Man City at the moment. I mean, statistically, Chelsea aren't the best defence in the league, but you have to bear in mind we were down to 10 men against Liverpool for a whole half. That's where our XGC has been smashed because they had loads of shots on goal.
Yeah, I want you to come on all the time because you have made me so much more happy with Christensen than I ever thought I would be. I thought you were going to come on and be like, nah, mate, he's not in. Like, I don't know why you did that.
You've been panicking over Christensen after he was only benched once, to be fair. But
no, I know.
agree, because
the thing is as well, like, Tuchel's really high on him at the moment. And you've got to think, like, moving forward as a team, as Azpilicueta's getting older, Thiago's 37 next month.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to bring, even Alonso's getting on a bit. Like, we've got to, bleed these guys in now so that, Tuchel's here to stay. So the players like Christensen's, the Jameses, we need these guys to be playing and growing with the team. I think, there is plenty of options in the Chelsea defenders, and you may get it right, you may get it wrong, but I think you just got to pick your players and stick with them for the run and not chop and change because, oh God, Rudiger scored last week, or oh my God, Azpilicueta played right wing back and got an assist and 3 bonus points. Like, just get on who you want to get on because of your budget or the sort of game you like to play. Stick with them and ride the roller coaster,
I was just thinking because I almost did something you just described the other week. So when I got Alonso on the Sunday night after, obviously he got the assist, he almost scored. That was the Tottenham game, wasn't it? And I was like waiting for the game to end, and then Rudiger scored, and I had this like 5-minute period where I was like panicking a bit, like, oh, maybe instead of getting Alonso, I should get Rudiger. And then obviously once I calmed down a bit, I just, looked at the stats and was like, I have to get Alonso. But it's funny, isn't it? Because there was lots of things last year, like John Stones kept scoring, and I didn't own John Stones. I had Cancelo. And it's a completely irrational thing. But what I would hate is to go for Alonso and Christensen, and then Rudiger goes on like this John Stones style run, where you get like a brace, just some random centre-back brace, and everyone seems to have them. And you're sat there with like Christensen because you were so tight and paid as little as possible.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's not rational.
Or the other way around. Or Christensen gets the brace and
he
you pay
becomes the John
0.7
Stones.
more for Rudiger. Yeah.
It could
That's
happen.
what happened last year.
That would be sweeter.
John Stones is an amazing threat from set pieces, and we also don't have Kevin De Bruyne. We did, but Jose Mourinho decided that he wasn't good enough for us and sold him. So.
Yeah. That's happened a lot, to be fair, though. You guys must be used to that by now.
Salah,
amazing
players.
Salah,
Lukaku.
Hey, you got him back though. I mean, you lost your profits. Million. Yeah. but anyway, let's move on then. Goalkeeper. Someone asked in the chat about Mendy. Do you think that he's worth it in any capacity?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
No.
All right.
I mean, this
Moving
season,
on.
I think we've got a couple of decent options at 4-5. We've got Sanchez, Ramsdale's emerging now, and I just think there'll be some weeks you'll get smug about it and you'll go, oh yeah, lovely, Mendy, he's made a few saves and got some bonus points. He's come away with an 8 or a 9, whatever. But most weeks,
yeah, it's going to be as similar.
With that Sarr getting the assist, I know assist for a goalkeeper is rare, but it does show how just goalkeepers can put up the most random points. You get penalty saves, all this stuff. So paying more does not always mean you're going to get more points.
No,
the defenders.
And the other thing is, apart from that crazy penalty that Aguero took last season, Mendy has got one of the worst penalty save records amongst all goalkeepers. So you can't get him expecting that. You want a penalty save. There's Pickford, there's Pope, there's Martinez, there's plenty that actually.
I'd still go with Krul if I was to pick any goalkeeper in the Premier League for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so midfielders, that is a minefield. We don't, we've got, what is it, 7 minutes or something till the piss break, and we don't really need to go through strikers because there's only one and everyone's going to have them and that's fine. But for midfielders, is there much to talk about?
I think Mount is going under the radar, and I really love the fact that, obviously I don't love the fact that we lost to City because obviously it was a big game for us, but from an FPL perspective, I love that we now need Mount more than we thought we did.
Yeah, like it shows that how versatile and important he is.
Yeah, and he's dropping in price tonight to 7.3. And I think that it's, he's the link guy between the midfield and the attack.
Yeah.
And he provides something that no one else in our squad provides. He's a Tuchel favourite. And I think he's flying under the radar. And, there are those fixtures, which I think there's one in game week 9, I think it is, when we've got Norwich at home. Now you could go to Norwich at home and you could sit there with Lukaku, Christensen and Rudiger. Now,
yeah.
Great. Well, you're going to get Lukaku's points and 2 6s at the back. Whoop-de-doo. Or you could go in there and we roast them 4-0 and you come out with Lukaku's points and a goal and assist for Mount. Does that not sound way more exciting?
I mean,
I just don't see it. I'd rather, because I was comparing Alonso to Mount the other week when I did my transfer. I actually think if Alonso played every game, Mount played every game. Funny enough, Mount's only played 90 minutes twice in the league this year. Alonso's got more attacking threat in my eyes than Mason Mount.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, but it's just about minutes. Whereas Alonso's is fine so far.
But then Mount's is not fine.
I was going to say, would you say Mount was nailed, right?
But he's
Sorry,
I was going to say really quickly. He was injured last game.
Mm-hmm.
He played 45 against Spurs because Tuchel wanted to change shape. And I think apart from that, and he got rested against Villa after the international break. So yeah, it's not ideal, but you know, we are talking about, Alonso, who has been, he's like Cancelo this season. He's unexpectedly nailed every game. And for me, I think Mount, there will be one of those 5 fixtures where we concede a sloppy goal. It will happen 100%. There's no, might happen, but I'd be surprised if we get 5 back-to-back clean sheets without anyone scoring some little crappy goal or conceding a pen or whatever. Is likely to happen, and those moments could be potentially smug when we go and play Brentford away and we beat them 3-1.
I think my problem with Mount is say he's nailed, right, and he's going to play 90, and not even taking into consideration that, if the manager decides that he wants to change shape, then it's Mount who comes off. Like I don't like the sound of that. But good point. If Christensen and Rudiger are 0.7 million difference, maybe potentially 0.8 by Friday, like we talked about, and Christensen is a bit of a gift in terms of, those times where he will be benched will be few and far between, so it's worth the saving. Alonso and Mount are, a million different, maybe? 1.5, and Alonso, for those times that he's going to get benched, it's so much worth it. It's almost the exact same situation.
It is. And I think the only other thing that I would say is that it's about what you can do with those other spots in your team. Right now, at Mount's price, there's not really a great deal of competition in terms of those 7-5. Greenwood's gone off the radar, so's Torres. Jota's not going to be in favour as much now. Firmino's back.
Yeah.
Yes, there's some good players underneath performing, the Sars, the Decores, the Greys, but in general, whereas if you look at defenders, you could go, I'll tell you what, I'll have Trent, 1 Man City, 1 Chelsea. Whereas in midfield,
that's true. You could,
you know what I mean?
If you double up in City defence.
Diaz or Cancelo with Mount as opposed to 2 Chelsea defenders, and I can't get to Mount.
Makes sense.
I don't want to offend Mount because I do like him. I'd almost rather, even if Mount was nailed, which he's not been recently, I know he's injured at the moment, I'd almost rather have Jota as a minute's risk than 90-minute Mason Mount. Like I feel like someone like Jota is so much more explosive than Mason Mount.
Oh yeah, he is. I mean, his XG and his stats are that of a premium, aren't they? Really?
Yeah.
And
that's why I'm keen to go.
He's
for
like
the
Antonio in that sense. Yeah. I mean, I think if you probably said, go with 3 right now, you're on a wild card. I think the 3 would probably be Alonso, Rudiger, and Lukaku, because you've got the big man up front. You've got Alonso for the sort of the fun upside, and then you've got Rudiger for the nailed. So, like you said, Rich, you're never missing out on that clean sheet because he is the most nailed. He is the one that's going to play every single week.
Yeah, that was something I experienced a lot last season with my triple Chelsea defence. Chelsea would keep clean sheets, but I wasn't getting the points, and it's really frustrating when you've picked a certain team. They're going to get clean sheets, and then you don't get them because you picked the wrong players.
What will be very interesting with Alonso is if he gets called up by Spain, because he's been playing very well and he has been in the Spain team before. I don't think he went to the Euros, but if he got called up by Spain and Chilwell doesn't get called up by England, that would be a curveball. Because Chilwell wasn't in the last England squad.
I thought Chilwell was in the England squad.
Not in the last one, I don't think, because I don't think he was 100% there, fitness-wise and whatnot.
I would absolutely love it if Alonso got dropped because of that.
This is pure speculation now.
No, of course. I'm just saying, it's a good thing to keep an eye on.
It's a hypothetical if Alonso gets called up and Chilwell doesn't.
You'll know this week before the deadline. If Alonso's in the Spain squad, and I don't think he will be because he hasn't been in the previous ones under.
It'd be a bit of a weird addition at his age to start calling up.
He deserves it though. To be fair, he has been playing exceptionally
he's been playing well though. It's
never too late to score for your country, Rich.
But that's the only thing I it's good to keep an eye on before making those transfers at the end of the week.
That's true. Shinjoy in the chat said Alba is the vice captain for Spain. So, but it doesn't mean he won't be called up as, a bench player or whatever. But we are at 45 minutes at half time. Shall we go for a wee piss break? We'll come back.
Yeah, we'll go for the piss break, and then we'll go through some Man City defenders. So maybe compare the Chelsea ones to Man City. We're going to cover the Arsenal assets, and we've got loads of questions as well. So a lot to come in the second half.
See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
And now, you won't know this, or maybe you will, Josh, I don't know. But see, during the piss break, because we're still live, what we do is we just let, Rich inevitably will go for a piss. But we just let everyone ask questions, and we just answer them as if it's like a little bit of Q&A, especially for the guest. Unless you do need to go.
I might do, if that's all right.
All right, go now.
Answer them like you're typing.
Nah, we just talk, because they can still hear us and stuff. You know what I mean? Like we don't turn it off, but you can go if you go, and by the time you get back, all the questions will be there. So if you guys still have questions about Chelsea or anything, or any other topic, yeah, go there now. I didn't explain that very well, I don't think, but yeah, it's a chance for you guys to ask questions, and we'll do a little bit of interaction. I'm gonna read it back. Actually, I've been trying to keep an eye on it. Every time I press the bloody exclamation mark when the cool little lower thirds are on, I always forget to turn it off for my very first one. And when I put the little exclamation mark in, it has like big massive letters on the front, which is annoying. Very interesting though about Alonso there. I really want him, like, personally. I would love it if he was dropped, because Christensen is not gonna outscore him, unfortunately. So any little helps. Are Chelsea 5 at the back forever for sure? Doesn't seem like they're going to be stopping anytime soon. I mean, it's been working for them. Their defense is absolutely amazing, and Josh didn't mention it, and he probably definitely would have mentioned it. So yeah, another Ben Chilwell's issues is the left wing back position. He is the superior left back. This was probably said a while ago, but I actually I was thinking about this and I didn't want to bring it up. Sam and Rich. Oh, Rich is back.
Are you on your own?
Aye, but that's fine. Just chatting. Another thing, I didn't want to keep the defense chat going for a longer, but Chilwell for me isn't as good as an attacker. He's better a defender, and everyone knows that. Not just for me, for anyone who watches football can see that. But what I think is interesting is that, like, their fixtures are now at the point where they don't really need the best defender at that position when they're going to be playing. Like these teams are, it's like, let's see how many goals we can score. Let's get that, the goal tally up. I don't think they need a specific defensive positioning for that. Am I wrong, Rich?
Oh, I was reading the chat then.
Never listening.
I was reading the chat.
What's
they're
happening?
asking when you're next in London.
Zlat is asking. Next in London. I don't know. I don't know. Mate, are you asking that? I don't want to. I don't know.
I don't know why he's asking.
I don't know. I don't know when I'm next in London. I actually don't know. Even if I knew, I wouldn't know. Because sometimes I'll hear stuff and I don't know if I'm allowed to say shit and blah blah blah. But at the same time, like, London's really far away, and I'm skint, and that's like a full 2-3 day thing for me. Like, if I'm gonna be comfortable with it, 'cause coming down the day before is preferable. The reason why I didn't do it last time is because the strike's still happening up here. I don't know if you guys are getting strikes down there for the trains and stuff. So I just kind of missed it.
It's just petrol.
Oh, you guys are all running about because cars aren't.
I've got a full tank of diesel. Oh, however, I haven't got a battery that works, so the car's just sat there. Someone's now going to siphon the car, aren't they?
Swinjoy said, Dave, what's the game time for Crystal Brighton? I have no idea. I will check for you though.
Like 20 minutes ago.
What's your differential picks for the next four game weeks? Oh, like as in one pick for 4 game weeks. Have you got anyone in the back of your mind, Josh?
Differential.
Aye, like a random one, like that you've been thinking, oh, you know what? If I had a wild card, I wouldn't mind take a punt on that.
Probably got to be looking at the Arsenal boys, but we'll come on to them in a bit.
Yeah, that's true. We will be talking.
Should we get back to it? We've still got two more headlines to go through, and a lot of questions as well. So we're gonna have to power through. I'm not trying to rush you, Dave.
No, you absolutely are, and that's okay. I need to check what the time is though. It is 21 minutes and 9 seconds, 10 seconds, 11 seconds in the Brighton game.
So there you go. Enjoy, can sync it.
Yeah. So you can sort it out. Liam said he'll pay for me to come to London. That's really nice of you. I can't do that. That'd be crazy. No, I'll figure it out. Anyway, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back. And we'll go straight on to our next headline. So we've obviously just discussed Chelsea, but Man City, despite having the Liverpool game this week, after that do have a pretty nice favourable run of fixtures. So there's a lot of people looking at City defenders who've had much better underlying stats, defensively anyway, than Chelsea. So Josh, if we start with you, I mean, are you looking at a City defender, and where do you rank them compared to the Chelsea defenders?
Yeah, I think obviously they're a little bit more expensive than most of the Chelsea defenders.
Yes.
And yeah, from a stats perspective, they're better at the moment, of course. But I still think, if I'm honest with you, I still think Chelsea will keep more clean sheets this season than City. And I think it's just another situation like you've got with Rudiger and Alonso, really. It's Diaz versus Cancelo. What's your appetite for risk? Right now it looks great because Cancelo's starting every game, but it's inevitable that Zinchenko is going to play a fair part in the season. Laporte can play left back if he needs to. Ake can play left back if he needs to. He's inevitably going to get some rest. And it's about whether you want to go in with him or whether you want to go nice and comfortable with Diaz and not have to check the team sheet each week.
We did a little comparison. I think for people watching, Dave will pop it on screen, but we did a comparison between Alonso and Cancelo. Just out of interest, because obviously they're the two most attacking assets. And of course, Cancelo is 0.2 at the time of recording, more expensive. But it was quite interesting looking at these stats because, I mean, through balls and final third passes, Cancelo absolutely dominates, including the Hub's expected points. And I should say these all come from Fantasy Football Hub. So if you want to sign up, a link will be in the description to do that with a nice little discount for you. But what do you make of these, Dave? The comparisons between Cancelo and Alonso. Which one, would you go for?
Well, I'm biased because I've already got like a potentially can be benched at any time defender. But if I didn't, say I had both Diaz and I had Rudiger, right, which are the kind of similar player, which one would I probably punt on? It would probably be Alonso just because of the fixtures. I think it's difficult because they're both decent, and I think that if Alonso immediately got dropped or if something happened, then I would have no problem switching. I'm probably, as a non-biased person, I would want both of them. And I'm probably going to...
Greedy.
I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to try and do that. But the issue is that, like, if they're both the exact same and they both have been playing very well and they're both very attacking and, they both have kind of the similar risk to them, at least it feels like, then you go with the one with the best fixtures. And yeah, Alonso, and defense even too. Chelsea's defense, like, it's not like when Alonso goes up, he's leaving the defense exposed or anything. Their defense looks absolutely amazing, and the stats agree. Whereas, City have been getting those annoying little goals happening. I know they didn't, against Chelsea, but yeah, by and large, they haven't really been keeping that many clean sheets over Chelsea. In fact, it's the opposite. So yeah, Alonso for sure.
We touched on it a little bit earlier when we said that Alonso, if he played every game, would possibly outscore Trent because he'd score more goals. And this comparison really does highlight that, actually, because when you look at shots in the box, we've got Alonso with 6, whereas Cancelo's only had 2 shots in the box. So it really is the creative stuff, where you might go for Cancelo a bit more.
Do you know what I was going to say actually? The creative side of things. I had a look at some stats earlier. In that, he's not. Cancelo's stats are a bit weird so far this season. So I had a look at some stats and goal attempts. He was 4th amongst all defenders, which is good, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Shots in the box, he was 29th. As you just mentioned, he's only had 2. Penalty area touches, he was 1st amongst some others, but he was 1st, which is really good. Chances created, he's 13th, Cancelo, with 6. So he's actually only created 1 chance per game week so far. Bearing in mind I think he's played every minute so far. Big chances created, he's only created 1. So he's got some funny stats, really. To be first for penalty area touches, with 16 penalty area touches, but then only 2 shots in the box. Doesn't really make any sense. And then equally to be first with penalty area touches 16, but I've only created 6 chances and only 1 of them was a big chance. Again, it's a bit bizarre, really.
I wonder if it's because of how City play. Why that's happened, because when you like I mentioned before, with the final third passes, you've got 170 for Cancelo over the season, whereas Alonso's only got 76.
Yeah.
So it may be something more to do. They're just tapping it around, and that inevitably he gets a couple of little penalty box touches on the edge of the. I guess you'd have to look at heat maps really, but he might have a lot of ones on the edge.
Playing left back than right back. I mean, if you remember last season when they were playing the sort of a lopsided formation where essentially he'd play right back and then would essentially join the midfield in possession, and then you'd have the 3 that would sort of spread out across the back. That was just incredible, and he was like, and that's almost what Trent's been doing recently until Harvey Elliott got injured, and not so much anymore at the moment. But yeah, I think left back he's not quite what he is at right back, Cancelo, but he's still great. And I personally think it's a tough call this week because, you could argue going for him and Alonso, but if you're going to go for one this week, it's difficult because this is the start of Chelsea's run.
Yeah.
But then next week, you could be sat there going, I should have had Cancelo actually, because now it's the start of City's run. So it's a tough one. And then equally, you could say, well, do you want to get both of them? Because they are both, rotation risks, and if you have too many of them in your team, then it can cause some issues.
What the stats there said to me, because I to be honest, I wasn't all over the stats, but what they say to me is that there isn't much reason to go Cancelo over Alonso right now, because if you take the risk at face value and say that right now, as far as we know, they're not really that risky because they've both been playing a lot of minutes. The Cancelo is on I don't think he takes any corners or anything. Like Alonso is doing free kicks, he's taking corners, he's been playing loads. And even though, there's more through balls for Cancelo there, like Alonso has double the amount of crosses. Now,
Alonso gets up at corners as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if you recall, he's scored quite a few.
He's been taking them as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there is that. But I mean, if he wasn't taking a corner because it was James or Mount or whatever, he's up and he's scored headers from corners. Cancelo doesn't even go up at corners.
Nah, because he's doing the defensive thing. I just think that we might be overlooking, or not overlooking. We just might be like making this overly complicated. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing for me is there is a humongous difference between Alonso and Rudiger in terms of what you're getting for your money. If both players were nailed, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not that much difference between Cancelo and Diaz.
Yeah.
In terms of actually, if you look at what Cancelo brings you, yeah, he's got some nice stats, but they're not like a country mile ahead of Diaz. Diaz is actually creating similar level of chances, weirdly enough. I don't know how and where from, but he is. His baseline bonus is the same as Cancelo's. He will have shots, and they probably will be of better quality because they're he's up at corners. So I think that Diaz and Cancelo is a little difference, and Alonso and Rudiger is a huge difference, but it's as simple as that. The threat to Cancelo's spot at left back is probably slightly less than it is to Alonso.
Yeah, I agree. I think I definitely agree that
not massively, because Zinchenko is still a factor.
I feel like the risk is high enough that the decision to go those players will be the exact same, and we've talked about it already, which is just make sure you've got someone on the bench. Like don't pick these players if your bench is absolutely honking.
And I would say that Cancelo is more likely to get a cameo than Alonso.
There is a third option, and that would be if you were looking to wait a week, maybe wildcard in next week, or you've not used your wildcard, you could punt on Laporte. Because I know Stones is now back in training, but that is the third option. Because obviously Chelsea have got these cheaper ones. You've got like Christensen. So if we assume that, maybe see what happens with Laporte this week against Liverpool, he's option 3, especially if someone's not, someone like myself. Because City's fixtures, they're good. They've got like 3 good ones after this one where you probably want the City defender. So going short term on someone like Laporte instead of doing a big hit or shoehorning all these, £6 million players in defence, that's option 3.
It is
At the same price, would you look at Kyle Walker?
No,
just purely, he doesn't really offer a great deal from an attacking threat. But you could say he's arguably more. You could say he's arguably more nailed than Laporte, and he's the same price.
This is actually so interesting how similar these teams are in the assets. Like it's like the Brady bunch, when you've got Azpilicueta and Walker, and you've got the cheapies Christensen versus Laporte, and then you've got Diaz and Rudiger as like the staunch guys in the center, and then you've got like these left backs who are like the wild cards that are super risky, super rewardy. I think that's amazing. I think the ultimate thing, like just from a risk point of view, would be to have one non-risky Rudiger or Diaz, and then the next one can either be depending on
Alonso or Cancelo.
Can be Alonso, Cancelo, and then if you want a third one, then it's gonna have to be a cheapie, either Christensen or Laporte.
Just quickly there, Laporte. This is what I thought before I checked. Laporte absolutely destroys Walker for stats, like shots in the box, shots on target, shots.
No, he does. But Walker's got less competition at right back than Laporte's got at centre back.
Yeah,
Laporte's got Stones, Ake.
Ake's not a threat.
Stones. He's got Stones.
Stones is the only one. So, like I said, it would be a short-term thing ahead of wildcard. But I think there is a third option.
He plays Cancelo and Zinchenko, which is, how often will that happen?
You are right, though. It is a third option, though, Rich.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's the way. I mean, it all depends on your team, doesn't it? But I don't have a way to squeeze in a Man City defender if I then go for a second Chelsea defender. The only way I could possibly do it is, and if people are looking for Shaw replacements as well, like, again, we don't have to do it this week anyway because they're playing Liverpool.
Yeah. No, completely. I wouldn't bother. I mean, Cancelo's already gone up in price. Cancelo's already gone up in price, and he might go up again, but I just wouldn't bother. And I know you could argue, well, but he's just got 12 points against Chelsea, but we are nowhere
quite a lucky
near.
Assist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It wasn't really an assist. It was a fantasy assist. Wasn't it?
It was such a lucky assist. They took it off him for a little bit, didn't they? So Johnny Glenn in the actual chat has said Cancelo will sometimes play right back with Zinchenko at left back, which is something we didn't consider in the argument. Is that Alonso, if he's not playing left back, he's not playing. Whereas there is a life for Cancelo on the other side. It just as a small.
Walker
can't
play both sides. Zinchenko can't play both sides. He's got two sides that he can play. But yeah, I think personally, from a defender perspective, Rich, you said about going for 2 Chelsea defenders. I think one of each is nice, and I'm not normally like that. Normally, I'd rather put my eggs all in one basket. But right now, you've got 2 equally incredible defensive teams.
Yeah.
And you can go with one of each, or all your eggs in Chelsea, or all your eggs in Man City.
But if you can't get to 6 million, you've got 2 options. As in, you can't get to 6 million with both of them. You've either got to go 2 Chelsea defenders, or you've got to go a Chelsea defender and like Laporte or Walker, or one of the cheaper ones, and take a bit of a risk.
Yeah, you got to go 2
if you've got the bench to cover it.
You got to go 2 Chelsea defenders.
Because I'd rather
you'd
have
rather go
Laporte
Alonso
for
and
those
Rudiger than
3 or 4 games,
or Laporte.
and I'd rather have Laporte and risk it than do a hit to get like Cancelo and downgrade someone else somewhere else. But
I agree.
Yeah, but we better move on because we're running out of time already, and we've still got another headline and lots of questions. So the next headline is: Are Arsenal assets emerging? I've read that completely wrong, but you get what I mean. So Arsenal won a game again, so now they're being talked about a lot. I think it's mainly the price. I mean, Josh, if we start with you, are any Arsenal players tempting you, or is it just the price, or are Spurs just that bad?
The only one I own at the moment is Ben White, and he's just a dream to sit there at 4.4 million and playing when they got a great fixture, cover when players don't turn up or are injured or suspended. Yeah. I think Ramsdale is holding his hand up now as potentially the goalkeeper option to go for. I still feel a little bit nervous about Leno, just purely because he's one of the best backup keepers there is in the league. And, it's a bit of a De Gea, Henderson situation where you're like, could you honestly sit here and go, Ramsdale's going to play every game for the rest of the season? No. So I feel a little bit nervous there. I think Tierney's a good option. It's just a question of whether you want to pay 0.5 more for him over Ben White. I think Tomiyasu's a good option. He's only 0.1 more than White. And then midfield, you've got, Smith Rowe, you've got Saka. I think that's probably really actually. Pepe, yeah. I looked into some stats earlier and he was just nowhere to be seen, really.
He's also doesn't seem to be nailed. It does seem like Saka is the one who's nailed now.
Yeah. I had a look into Saka and Smith Rowe earlier. Saka's obviously like 1 million more. It absolutely smashed him on stats. So goal attempts, Saka 9, Smith Rowe 4. Shots in the box, Saka 8, Smith Rowe 4. Chances created, Saka 7, Smith Rowe 4. Big chances created, Saka 2, Smith Rowe 0. Penalty area touches, Saka 19, Smith Rowe 7. And baseline bonus, Saka 44, Smith Rowe 18. Smith Rowe has played a few less minutes. This was actually not every game this season. I took it from game week 4 to 6 purely because Arsenal didn't turn up for game week 1 to 3.
So you've excluded where they were horrific. Although they did have a lot of shots against Brentford.
Yeah, and that was Tierney's week, wasn't it? He created 6 chances,
that was the week where Smith Rowe looked really good, from what I remember. So that was the first day of the season, wasn't it?
Well, I thought I'd take account of their 3 wins the last 3 weeks, and you get what you pay for, and it's nice in FPL when that is a true reflection in the stats, and you pay 1 million more, you get Saka, who I think is a bit more nailed. The other one is Odegaard, but I think I don't know right now.
I looked at his stats last week and they were pretty bad. I think the two you mentioned, the midfielders, seem to be the one that get my interest. I mean, Dave, are you going to actually bring any in, Dave? Arsenal players? I put you on the spot. Now.
I am not going to be bringing any Arsenal players in because I'm 2 weeks behind in my plans because of injuries. You wildcard and you hope you can roll transfers and you've got your eyes set on players, especially for this season because we talked about it for ages, the Chelsea assets that you want to be bringing in. So I don't have any time to bring them in. It might have been a different story had DCL not get injured and then Bamford, but and I really like Saka. I thought he looked amazing. Fair play to him for actually getting into the team and getting nailed. We all knew he was class, but the stats, as Josh pointed out, it seems like everything's going down the left anyway. Tierney's there, Saka's now going to be playing there. Pepe doesn't really seem like an option to me. Odegaard had a good free kick, but yeah, you're not going to get him when Smith Rowe's doing so well eye test and stats wise. And then defense, I think Tomiyasu's going up in price tonight, which I was actually not tonight, sorry, but he's rising, which was surprising because Ben White's so nailed and fine. But both of them are okay options. Ramsdale's looking good, but I don't know if I would, if Leno is gonna be jumping in and out, and they're going to have like this, Chelsea goalkeeper situation potentially, then I'd rather just go for Ben White and hope for the best and not really have to worry about my goalkeeper, which would be the worst ever. So yeah, I think it's probably the same as you guys. Like, Saka's fine. There's so much competition at that point.
I'm gonna watch them a little bit longer. I know a lot of people have been talking about wildcard in game week 8, and they can bring him in because they're cheap. But I don't know. I think it takes me a lot for me to be convinced by players like Saka, who I've been tricked by in the past. And I know he's a young developing player, and he looked good in a half yesterday. But there's always that doubt in the back of my mind that he will get rotated. That he's not. I know he could improve his numbers over the years. A number of goals he scores because he is young.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen anything to show he's a proven FPL asset, and I've only been in the last 2 seasons.
You got to bear in mind as well, right? They beat Norwich 1-0. They beat Burnley 1-0. It was
literally
prior to this week. It was like, oh god, the Arsenal attack's not really, not really doing much. And then bang, they beat Spurs 3-1, and oh my god, we've got to get everyone. It's like, And this week they've got Brighton away, I think.
Yeah, their fixtures actually aren't that good.
Not amazing. Brighton away is a tough. It's one of the toughest games.
They look good on a ticker. Then they've got Palace.
Yeah. And
then they've got Villa, who looked better. So yeah.
They have with their 3 at the back. Kept Ronaldo out. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. 50% of people hating that comment.
Yeah, I did. Right, let's move on. But yeah, so they're the headlines. Because we're recording during the Palace Brighton game, the mini leagues are still updating. But if you'd like to join the mini league, the code is 4U2742. And we got so many good questions this week, so we'll try and get through as many as we can. We'll start with one from Mark. So Mark was asking, yes or no answer, should we do Ronaldo to Lukaku for captaincy reasons in the game week to come, or is Ronaldo's ownership too high to take the risk? So the funny thing is, I'm the only one here with Ronaldo, and he only wants a yes or no answer. But we'll start with you, Josh. If you had Ronaldo, would you do the switch?
Can I use 3 words?
Yes.
Not this week.
Okay, got ya. And what about you, Dave?
Yes, I would probably do it. Yes, the answer is yes.
I don't think I would. But I've got both. So, but yeah. Anyway, I've said more than 3 words.
Why does he only want 3 words? It isn't. It's one thing that everyone's going to be talking about, right?
One day.
Otherwise, you get people sit. Otherwise, people sit on the fence. Actually, that's probably why. So let's do it. Yes or no. Mine's no. Josh was
no.
Dave.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then Jamie Dodds asked a question. My overall rank got shat on when Antonio scored. If you didn't have him this week, would he be priority to bring in? For me, this would be selling Jesus this week and possibly selling Ronaldo for Vardy to fund a defensive upgrade. So Antonio is an interesting one because obviously the fixtures are turning in a couple of weeks. Exactly. He's obviously done well this season. Would you? So you've both got Antonio, but would you, Josh, if you didn't have him, would you be panicking?
Nah, not now. I think they've got one good game week left. This game week against Brentford at home. Antonio can score against anyone.
Yeah.
He's a monster and he's so unplayable at times. But I think that, honestly, after this game week, I think that non-owners can relax a little bit more, personally.
Yeah, I agree. Although I think that the fixtures are kind of useless when we're talking about Antonio, because he's just so good. Like, he had 0.005 less XG than Salah this week. Like, he's a monster, and he's going to keep being a monster. I don't think I agree. I don't think he's a priority, especially when there's so many, like, if you've still got Bamford or whatever.
Yeah.
But Brentford again. Salah got quite a bit more joy than we thought he would. That is Liverpool, obviously. West Ham, a different kettle of fish, but Brentford seemed to be going for it a bit more. So I don't mind that as an owner. I wouldn't be worried about it. But then they go to Everton, who haven't been looking great. Then Tottenham, who have been looking ridiculous. So the fixtures aren't the worst the next 3. And then after that, it's Aston Villa away, Liverpool at home, Wolves.
He can score against anyone. And the thing about West Ham that are good is that they're incredible on the break. So when they're playing against these bigger sides, and they are having less possession, they're great at hitting them on the break.
Yeah.
And so we'll all sell Ben Rama, next
Never.
week or whatever, and he'll smash it because they're so good on the break. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into those bad fixtures with Ben Rama and Antonio unless I have no choice because there's other fires to put out.
Yeah, which seems likely this season.
I think Antonio's a hold. I think he's a hold if you own him, but I don't think he's a buy now.
I don't think many people are looking at selling, but I don't have Antonio. And it worried me a little bit last week. My only route to get Antonio was to either do Ronaldo to Antonio or Lukaku to Antonio. I've got Ben Rama, which I know a lot of people don't like coverage, but it does, cover the fixtures definitely. Somewhat. I'm happy with Ben Rama. I hate not having Antonio. He is probably at the moment the best value or one of the best value players in the game. But I'm not going to sell Ronaldo or Lukaku to bring him in. I just think that's ridiculous.
You might look at that in a couple of weeks, though, right? Potentially.
Again,
you might look at that in a couple of weeks.
My mind's always open to stuff like that. But the problem with that is I'd be downgrading to Antonio, and then you have to spread the funds somewhere else. And I don't see where else I'd spend that money.
It's something that you'd more do on when you play your wild card, I think. It's
a wild card thing or a 2-3 transfer.
You need to distribute the funds perfectly, which is quite hard to do in 1 week.
And also last week, if I'd taken Lukaku out for a week last week, I'd have gone for Vardy. I wouldn't have gone for Antonio. And I'm not saying that because Vardy outscored him. I'm saying it. I did say it before, actually.
Because you love an own goal, isn't it, Rich?
He scored the own goal, then he scored the brace. So it's hat trick.
I know.
Little Vardy hat trick.
It's a good hat trick.
Yeah. We'll move on because we've got a couple more questions. So thanks for your question, Jamie. Ryan's asked, Raul Jimenez for Ronaldo. Is this knee-jerking or a sensible move?
I think it's the most knee-jerking thing I've ever read, potentially. That's absolutely mental.
What are you doing? Step away from the computer, or your phone.
I was trying to think of a way to say
Ronaldo is a massive hold this week. Literally 5 minutes ago, before Gameweek 6, he was the best thing since sliced bread. Everyone was, oh my God, look at his stats, unbelievable. He blanks against Villa, and now everyone's sell him, I
was thinking this. Like you said, when he was added to the game, it was like the hot property. Everyone was captaining him. If you didn't captain him, you were an idiot. And then suddenly now people want to move to Lukaku. It's it's an easy sell.
Who, by the way, hasn't scored for 2 weeks.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I think we all own Lukaku. It's the grass is greener thing, isn't it? Where some people are sat there without all these Lukaku blanks thinking,
our attack has looked disjointed in the last 2 game weeks, probably. I mean, we scored against Spurs 3 times, 2 from a set piece and 1 from a deflected N'Golo Kante goal. We didn't score against City. Lukaku only had a couple of chances against Villa. It's hardly that
he's not a must-own.
We're great defensively, but we're not clicking in attack at the moment. And Man United, clearly aren't clicking in attack, judging on the Villa game. So I mean, I think personally for me, if you've got Ronaldo, I'd stick with him this week. See where it lies. Next week you could find that he absolutely hauls and Lukaku blanks again. Who knows?
Yeah, brilliant. Nice. We'll move on to FPL Viking. Asked a question about Dan James. So we don't need to answer that. But shout out to FPL Hints with his Twitter Spaces. Alan, Dave mentioned on the previous pod, but maybe we should look at City defenders for the double up instead of Chelsea. And for Josh, as a Chelsea fan, is Azpilicueta being overlooked? So I guess we've covered those in the headlines, really.
Yeah.
But if you let's play again. If you had to pick 2. So you can have 2 Chelsea defenders or 2 City defenders or mix and match. Which 2 would be your priority on a wild card, Josh?
I hate this question, by the way.
If I had to pick 2 right now, I would go Cancelo and Rudiger.
Okay. And Dave, have you thought about this?
No, I hate the way that you. I don't hate the question that's been asked by the patron. I hate the way that you set that up because I would never just pick 2 of them. I want 3 of them.
Basically, who are your favourite 2? Is that a better way of wording it?
No, I'm gonna bring 3 of them.
You can't have a favourite 2. You have to have a favourite 3.
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just
you rather pick a mix stand, Dave. Right? You've only got £1. You can't have £1.50
well, I
worth
can do
or
whatever
£2.
I want. I've worked at one of those stands. The amount of players I stole.
And you can't thieve any sweets either.
Right, no, okay. So my top two is Cancelo and Alonso. That's clear. If I was gonna double up, it would probably be Chelsea, and that's simply because what we talked about. Like there's only there's only one striker for Chelsea that you want, and there's not really much midfield. So therefore, the way to get in triple Chelsea for their great fixture run is to have two defenders. I know I talked about it last time having two City defenders, but yeah, you can't have them all. It's too expensive. I think I want to have Cancelo, Alonso, and Christensen. I think that's the way I'm going to go. Or Diaz.
They're all good options. It's a good...
No, I know, but I think we should talk about that, the differences. I know we're trying to move swiftly along, and I'm not going to allow it. I want to talk about... if you have three of them, would you go one City and two Chelsea, or the other way around? I think that's the crux of the...
It depends completely on budget, because obviously I've already got Alonso, so I'm probably going to go... I mean, I'll probably cover it in transfers, but I'm probably going to go Alonso, Christensen, and then I might be able to squeeze Laporte in, but it depends.
So
I think
Chelsea.
Dave, it's a question of if you were playing the wild card this week or next week. Yeah. And I know it's only one game week, but why you double up on Man City when they're going to Anfield? You'd go this week. You go for me this week. You go Cancelo, Alonso, Rudiger, because then you've got two Chelsea at home to Southampton.
Yeah.
You've got Cancelo, who's more likely to get attacking returns than Diaz against Liverpool. And then there you are in game week 8 after the international break. You shouldn't have any transfers to make because you just played your wild card. And then if you want to change it up, and sell Alonso because he goes away with Spain and Chilwell stays back at...
yes.
And just throwing that little nugget in there again. And then you might want to double up and go Diaz, Cancelo, and Rudiger.
There, from a non-fixture point of view, like let's get them both to a point where this question works in a vacuum of they both have good fixtures. Let's dingy the Liverpool game for Chelsea or City. So you're in game week 8. You're wild carding. You've got a choice of 2-1 for Chelsea or 2-1 for City. Are you both going Chelsea then, Rich? 2 Chelsea? If you're wild carding again?
Chelsea, yeah.
2 Chelsea, same as you, Josh?
They're cheaper, aren't they, fractionally? Probably, because at the moment I don't think that you need to have 2 attackers from City, and I know that's nuts because normally we literally... live off at City attackers, but right at the moment. Whereas I honestly think that I'd be more tempted. Sorry, the answer is I go 2 City, 1 Chelsea. So I go Diaz, Cancelo, Rudiger, because I'd more likely want to have 1 Chelsea defender, Mount, Lukaku, than 2 City attackers. Because if you were sat there with Grealish and Torres, you got more chances of getting burnt than one of them being Mount, I think.
I think sometimes in this game we have to remember as well, obviously, because every team's different. Sometimes it's good just to get one of them, any of them. Like if you can only afford like a Christensen, just get Christensen.
And the other thing is as well,
they're so close, aren't they?
The other thing is as well is like, don't get too like trying to perfect it all the time,
exactly like, that.
I've got to have the perfect picks all the time, and I'm going to take hits to get all the perfect picks.
That's exactly it, Josh. Like people end up doing these hits,
settle with them, and Chelsea got 5 great games coming up. So if you go into this week with 2 no hits, that's fine. If you've got 3 no hits, that's great. But then whoever you've got, just settle with them. Don't chop in and changing and thinking about rotation. Unless you get injuries or suspensions, just ride through with them, If you get Mount and you go for it and you feel like, I'm going to get Mount, sod it, good. But you've got to sit with him for 5 game weeks. You can't pull him out after 1 or 2 because, you don't feel like he had the best game, or maybe he got subbed early or whatever,
I think that's the key point of the whole thing, isn't it? That we just got to get City or Chelsea defenders in, like which ones to avoid. There's a whole list of them ones, people seem to like. Just get them in.
Yeah,
and like you say, it makes more sense to get a Chelsea defender this week. Next week, it might make more sense to get the City defender, but it still makes sense to get Chelsea defenders then. So, but just to answer the actual question, I mean, if money was no object, I'd go Alonso and Cancelo hands down, but that just might not be my scenario.
No, that's fine.
I'm fine with that.
It's absolutely fine. And I knew there was we needed to dive a bit deeper into that question because it is something that people are they're going to want 3, I think. And
the question is when the should we sell Trent conversation comes up, because that's going to come around the corner when the fixtures stiffen. They already stiffen this week, and I guarantee you it will be a topic soon.
And I guarantee you the person who wins FPL will have had him all season.
It's another thing, just going back to the, get who you can afford. That's when people start looking to get the perfect team, like you just mentioned, Josh. So people might remove Trent to get Cancelo when they could have just, and honestly, I might not even get Laporte, but, they could have gone for the cheaper asset. Like they could get a Christensen instead of a Cancelo.
It's another argument for those on Threemium, right? So I said earlier on, those on Threemium, Christensen for me would be a great Chelsea pick because it means that you get the cheapest one, and that saving over Rudiger is gold. But then equally selling Trent and then still having Salah, Ronaldo, Lukaku now could be the perfect time to do it because you can have a nice back three of Cancelo, Rudiger, Alonso, or three of them, whoever you choose, whatever you fancy, and then you've made that saving on Trent before he plays City, United, and these tougher fixtures come up.
Yeah. Well, should we actually? That probably links us in quite nicely to our captains and transfers for the week.
I go for it.
Yeah, so I guess, as always, we'll start with the guest. So that's you, Josh.
So what
are you thinking? You've got a lot of flags here. You've got 4, haven't you? So Shaw, Rafinha, Bamford and Reece James are all flagged at the moment.
So I rolled my transfer last week, as I mentioned, thank God, because I would be in a right pickle now if not. I think we can assume that Rafinha's probably fine. He obviously played, scored again. I think he was at the end of his sort of being able to handle playing any longer. He's not fully fit, as we know, but I think that he'll be fine. And then, it just depends what happens, really, with the others. What I probably will do is target Shaw and James in my transfers first, simply because the fixtures are there for the defenders now more than they are for Bamford replacements. Knowing also that if Bamford is fit after the international break, he comes into good fixtures. So it's not really one that I'm that bothered about selling. I also would like to get rid of Jota, but it's going to be a bit of a luxury move this week, I think, for me and my team. It may be that I have to keep him. And I do have Ben White on the bench, who I'm more than happy to play this week. They've obviously looked really good defensively recently. So I'm happy to roll him out. And then that might mean that I don't have to take a hit, or maybe... So I think Shaw and James, obviously looking at replacing them with Chelsea defenders. I'm not going for Cancelo or Diaz this week, I don't think. Jota, I think Mount is the one that I'd be looking at there, potentially. I don't think I'll sell Bamford. I think he'll either be fit or I'll hold until after the international break. Captain's on Lukaku, but if I'm honest with you, him or Antonio, it's a coin flip at the moment. I think they're as good as each other.
But Brentford have been good.
They have, but we've not looked great attacking wise. And I think that we are more disjointed than West Ham are. And if Antonio is as much of a talisman for West Ham as Lukaku is for us. But if you said which attack looks better at the moment, hands down West Ham for me. So it's a difficult one. I don't think it's as simple as and obviously the other captain that I think is great this week is Ronaldo, who I don't own, but I think Lukaku versus Antonio is a coin flip, really.
Nice. Well, I guess you're going to be spending most of your week though thinking about how to use those 2 free transfers, and like you said,
and
you've got
I'm 100% waiting until Friday because all the Champions League info, all the press conference info, and then by that point, I will, hopefully one or two flags will go and things will become a bit easier.
Have you got any money in the bank?
Just 0.2 from when I did DCL to Bamford.
So it's good. So if you go for Alonso, you can only get Christensen, for example. You would only be able to afford that, right? Because Shaw's only 5.5. So
Yes, yeah, I can go straight from James to Alonso now because James I bought at 5.6. But
okay.
I could see I'd go for Alonso on two reasons. If Alonso was rested against Juventus and Chilwell played and he didn't get called up by Spain, I'd get Alonso this week 100%. But if he plays Juventus, no, I'm not going there.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets called up by Spain and Chilwell doesn't get called up by England, I'm not going there either. So it's tight, and it's those little minute details that for me decide whether I want to go for someone or not. I'm quite tempted to go for Azpilicueta, but I need to find the money elsewhere.
You could do Azpilicueta and Christensen, nay bother.
I could,
because that ticks our box of
my soul.
No, I know, but
I'd feel like an old man with the dullest defense possible.
Well, I feel like you saying that you're not going to get him if he gets a call up is quite like old manny as well.
I feel like me with Connor Cody.
I don't know. Like I said, we were chatting about Chelsea defenders. Every single one has got a reason to go and buy them, and I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. Someone can show me an algorithm somewhere that proves that Christensen is one of the best picks.
It would take something to prove you on Thiago Silva, I imagine.
Yes, 100%. And that's just from an age perspective. I just don't. I think we'll roll him out in the games we need him, but he won't
roll him out in his wheelchair.
Exactly. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week ahead.
Fair play. All right, next up is
you, Dave.
Is me. So I have Shaw like everyone else. I'm going to have to sort that out. But I don't have James. I've got Christensen. So it means that I don't need to do a double transfer. I could just move Shaw straight to anyone I want. Because mind, we moved Bamford to Armstrong and we saved loads money. So I can get anyone I want, really. Shaw to Alonso seems like a no-brainer. Especially for their long thing. We've been talking about it loads. It also means that even if I do that, I can still afford Cody to Cancelo and still have 0.2 in the bank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'd be playing Cody, mate, this week. Personally.
Oh yeah, no. I since this picture's been taken, Armstrong.
I was going to say, like he's.
But you could save it for next week, and then you could do Cody to.
Yeah, that's
Cancelo.
The plan. Yeah. So Cody's in for Armstrong in this picture here. My bench will be Armstrong and Livramento, and then after this game week, Cody could go to Cancelo for how much that difference is, and I'd still have 0.2 in the bank. The problem with this is that I'm gonna have to hold Torres and Jota for a little bit longer, which is not it's not the best, but I mean
it's a bit of a luxury upgrade. It's a bit of a luxury upgrade in Cody when you've got those two.
To be fair, though, think about it this way, though. Would you get rid of Torres versus Burnley in Game Week 8 anyway? Like, if I can't get rid of Torres this week because I've got to sort Shaw out, then I might as well hold him for Burnley, and then I can get rid of Torres next week.
We also don't know if Shaw's out, actually, because, like we discussed last week, I quite like him for this fixture if he's fit.
In which case, I could upgrade Cody this week to Alonso and play him.
I don't even think he's a priority to leave though, Cody.
No, he's not. He's not. But if I want to
this week, I'd play Cody over Torres, Jota, and Armstrong. I'd play him over all those three. Therefore, I think you'd be crazy to sell Cody. I'd play Cody, and I'd sell if Shaw was fit. I'd sell one of Torres or Jota.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it if Shaw's fit.
There with Armstrong who have got fixtures that you'd be surprised if they scored in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Newcastle have looked okay in attack, but obviously Wolves at home, you'd expect that to be a clean sheet. If Shaw is fit, then I could also see myself rolling, and then do Shaw and Cody out the week after. For
you're in a good
Cancelo.
position here, I think.
It's
for
not
the longer
bad.
term.
It's just annoying about Torres. But
Mm.
yeah, I've got loads of options. I'm not too bothered about anything. I've got the main captain for this week. For me, it's not a different kettle of fish between Antonio and Lukaku like most people have been talking about. However, I'm not on.
No, really,
I'm
I
not.
haven't heard anyone else.
I'm not
say
on
it,
Josh's
but-
wavelength in that I'm choosing between them. I'm definitely going to be going Lukaku.
The thing for me is with Antonio is that if Lukaku starts midweek in the Champions League, which he inevitably will, it doesn't make me nervous about captaining him. Whereas if Antonio starts midweek in the Europa League, it makes me nervous about captaining him because we know what his fitness
He's got
issues are.
Weetabix ankles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. So that's where I am. Not too much to worry about this week for myself. I just wish I had an extra transfer, and I'm really annoyed at Bamford. All right. Rich's time.
It's on to me. So the only injuries I've got is obviously yellow flags on Shaw and Ayling. I've got no money in the bank and only one free transfer. I'm going to assume... Oh, Rafinha's flagged as well. So I'm 0.1 short of Shaw to Rudiger. So I may well do Shaw to Christensen, but I'm going to leave it a couple of days. I think if I had the exact money for Shaw to Rudiger, I'd have done it already, to be honest. Because of him being nailed and because I could have afforded it yesterday. Captaincy is going to be the interesting one, but obviously I'm going to have to wait for the Champions League games midweek because I've got it on Lukaku here, but I'm also very tempted by Ronaldo and Alonso as well. Like,
I think your team looks great for this week. You've got. I mean, if Shaw's fit, you're laughing. If Rafinha, let's presume Rafinha's fit, right? If Shaw's fit, you're laughing. Even if he's not. If Ayling's fit at home to Watford, I know you've got Sarr there, but it's still a good fixture. Both from, Ayling does offer attacking threat as well as a potential clean sheet, which I know they're not looking great defensively, but I think this week they will see the return of at least one of those centre backs. And Watford aren't West Ham in terms of them facing them. So I think it's a roll for me if I was you.
I think I've got 10 of the 11 are at home. The only away game I've got is Sarr away at Leeds,
which is a great fixture. I'd massively roll.
I'll tell you why I'm tempted, because I was thinking I could roll. But one thing that tempts me is I've obviously been building my whole strategy has been building towards getting Chelsea players in without using my wild card. So I almost feel it's like it would be a shame for me to not have 3 Chelsea assets.
Yeah.
But you got to roll with the punches, though.
It's more of a want than a need. Like, I don't need it.
But you only need one of Shaw or Ayling to be fit this week to have a very good team and 2 transfers for after the international break.
Yeah, I mean, if Shaw's declared fit, I won't move him on. So yeah, then it probably does become a roll. But I'm just thinking negatively. And then if Ayling's out as well, or we're not sure, he could be moved on. Because actually, someone I wouldn't mind getting is Livramento before he goes up to 4.3. I keep looking at all the early wildcard teams like you two, and his price is slowly creeping up, and he's not quite as cheap as he was.
Isn't it funny how all these Chelsea Youth Academy players are becoming factors? Like Livramento, Billy Gilmore. Right. They're all our fodder players.
I have 5 ex-Chelsea players in my team, or 5 Chelsea plus ex-Chelsea players in my team right now.
It's just like the whole of the championship's full of old Chelsea players and Chelsea players out on loan.
Yeah. The thing is, Rich, as well, you've got to bear in mind, I mean, I know you've got your wild card, so yes, you could argue you should go a bit more aggressive because you've got your wild card. But when you get to the game updating on Saturday, Sarr's fixtures turn a little bit, Benrahma's fixtures turn a little bit. And
Benrahma, Sarr's a good point, because Sarr was
a 2 transfers.
Sarr was a 3-week punt that's gone very well after 2 weeks. Benrahma, he's one I'm not. If I'm going to not have Antonio, and I really like Benrahma. I had him, obviously last season, as you know. So he's probably going to be one I'm going to be a little too patient with, Benrahma. But yeah, anyway, but captain, it's between Lukaku, Ronaldo, Alonso, and I'm going to have to see what happens.
Alonso. Love that.
Mate, yeah,
Very
do that.
tempting.
I didn't
Oh my
realize that
God,
was
if
an
he
option.
if he doesn't start against Juve, oh my God, that would be brilliant.
It's what I've got. It's what I'm waiting for to see what happens with that Juve team because, like you said, the attack's not been amazing. So I think I'd possibly prefer him to Lukaku, but it takes a few little things to happen this week to know he's playing.
Because you've got a better floor. You've got a better floor in the sense that, if we come up, and Southampton have been quite decent defensively recently. That if he doesn't start against Juve, and Chilwell plays, I actually agree with you. I actually think Alonso is a better option captaincy wise, and
hopefully
there is zero chance Chilwell plays back-to-back games, like zero. So Alonso basically walks onto the pitch with a very good chance of 6 points minimum, whereas Lukaku's got to score to get that. So you're making me think. Oh, it's good. I like that. I could do that if Chilwell's Chilwell.
There you go. You look excited about it.
I am, Rich.
From an FPL point,
more often.
FPL point of view, amazing. If I was Alonso and I have been playing as well as I have, and then up comes a really, really important game against a good team in the Champions League, and I get dropped, I would be absolutely raging. And I don't think it's probably going to happen either. I'm not a big Chelsea.
Have you seen
fan
their
or
recent
anything,
form, Juventus?
No, I haven't.
They're not doing very well.
They're not doing great.
And Chelsea need to win this Southampton game. City dropped points against them, didn't they? So
do you think that he's going to be focusing on the Premier League more?
I'm not saying he's going to focus on, and I guess we're going to see before the deadline anyway. So
yeah, there's no point in talking about it
too much. I love the idea of captaining a attacking premium defender.
Yeah,
and so many times I think I'm going to go Trent over Salah. And I never do it. But actually, I think the difference is that Liverpool's attack is so much better than ours in terms of, it's not that, we've got a good enough attack to win the league, but we don't smash teams 3 or 4-0 very often. Whereas Liverpool do, and that's the difference between Salah versus Trent. Whereas with Chelsea, we're more defensively solid than Liverpool, but we're not as good at attack. So therefore, Alonso over Lukaku makes great sense.
If Lukaku scores a hat trick, you'll never do this ever again as long as you live.
We still don't know.
I'm not bothered though. I'm happy to take the risk. Like if you see an opportunity, like I did with Antonio last week. If something feels good from a gut perspective, and there's a reason behind doing it, I don't mind. I would rather follow my gut and do something that I've got a real good instinct and hunch about than my captain blanks because I followed the crowd.
Agree. And we still don't know, because we had this thing with Ronaldo this week where he didn't take a penalty when people expected him. We still don't know for sure if Lukaku's on penalties or not. So
I don't think he will be.
No. Well,
I think it was Jorginho. I hope he is. I hope he is. Italy or whatever, but this guy's one of the best penalty takers in the world. He's ridiculous.
I feel like they've figured him out. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. I've moved on the picture to the captaincies from Hub. Just an interesting thing that Rich has added, which I enjoy.
Yeah, they're just the projections that Hub have for captains this week. So they've actually got Kane top, followed by Son. Then it's Lukaku, then Jimenez, then Alonso, just ahead of Ronaldo.
Let's get it trending.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much
I seem to remember
we can take from
avoiding
this.
Alonso last season against West Brom and didn't...
Sorry,
everyone goes. You're going to be the original one that came up with the Alonso captain Gameweek 7. So
we're all very excited. What were you saying, Rich?
Get it on your CV now.
Are you okay? Can you hear us, Rich?
Yeah, no, I'm right. Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying now. Doesn't matter. Wasn't important.
Do you think that they watched the Spurs game? Whoever put Kane top.
I don't think algorithms look at. Watch football. It's not very much eye test.
Who has Spurs even got this week? I can't even remember.
Aston Villa.
At home.
Yeah. It was only a joke. Obviously, have an algorithm that's been doing really well if you've been following it.
But
I
think
this is
since Villa have gone to 3 at the back. You know, I think they've looked very solid. They've kept back-to-back clean sheets. They kept out United at Old Trafford.
I was wondering why you were adding this, by the way, Rich. I was like, you know what? He's put on something at the end. I think that's pretty good. You know, we always talk about captaincies at the end. He's chucked on Hub. That's interesting. I didn't really look at it at all. I just put it into the slideshow. And then I realized why you did it. It's because you checked it. And Alonso's sitting there fourth.
it just was a big coincidence. It's funny. I mean, he's ahead of Ronaldo, so
he's tied with Jimenez.
Yeah, I don't know what Jimenez is there.
Dave, you'll realise Rich has a focal player every week, and he just bangs on about them all week, and then it gets to the game week, and it was like last year. It was like there was weeks where it was Foden. It was Trent.
Months it was
and it's Alonso this week.
Laporte's this week.
Yeah, Laporte. Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, he does that, and I ask our guest questions that are only specific to my team. So we both got a little bit of bias going into the game week podcasts.
I just think it's interesting because there's a lot of good captains this week. There really are a lot of good captains. So it should be an interesting and fun week.
That's a great shout. Really good shout.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess it could all be ruined, couldn't it, tomorrow night if Alonso plays 90 minutes and
even if he starts, I think if he starts, it's like no, I wouldn't even go there. Not a chance.
No, the ideal scenario is Chilwell starts and plays horrifically.
The ideal scenario is James is fit and he outscores the lot.
And Christensen hat trick. Here we go. All right.
No, but it was nice having you back on this week, Josh. Did you enjoy being a guest?
Yeah, it's great. It was good fun. And let me know if you want me on again.
Yeah, no, we'll do. And obviously, this is the bit where you plug anything you want to plug. So I don't know if you want to do that, but it's at Josh Paxman on Twitter.
That's it. I haven't got anything else to plug.
Any podcasts you've been interested in recently? Hint.
FPL surgery podcast. No. There's some amazing podcasts out there, isn't there? It's and there's some, the community in Twitter is just getting stronger and stronger, and so much content out there, and people putting out stats every day. I almost feel like there's no point in bothering with the stats posts that I used to do so much now. There's just always someone that's beating you to it first, isn't there? But great to be on, and good fun week to be on because we can chat about Chelsea.
Yeah, your favorite subject. No, but thanks again, Josh. And you've just got one more thing to say.
Up the pod.
Bye.